KB.
Thanks for having me on.
So we're on the heels of the Super Bowl 45 between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, you're a longtime Steeler, retired after your Super Bowl victory. What are you thinking going into this game as an alumni of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, I think it's going to be a tough game. It's one of those games that anybody can win. I'm pulling for obviously the Steelers, but it's one of those games where it could go either way. So it's going to be a tough game, but I'm excited to watch.
Now I see you're rocking your Notre Dame sweatshirt. They're looking to get some things back on track. And I just actually learned today you didn't play football until high school. So what was that like for you to just step right in high school and then into Notre Dame?
Well, for me, I didn't start playing football thinking that I was going to Notre Dame or anything. I started in high school, and the goal was just to try to get a scholarship to go to college anywhere. But as it turns out, I was pretty good, and things started to happen.
How many people when people think Jerome Bettis, they just think Pittsburgh Steelers. But you started out, you're drafted by the Los Angeles Rams, and then you had a transition period from the LA Rams into the St. Louis Rams, and then they wanted to put you at fullback, and we know what that means. You obviously know you're a better running back than just being put at fullback, and eventually winds up going over to find your niche in Pittsburgh. Talk about what that transition was like for you.
Well, initially it wasn't tough. I thought it was a bonus because coming out of Notre Dame, I was a fullback, a true fullback. So when I went to the Rams in Los Angeles, I thought it was, just going as fullback. They wanted to move me to tailback, which meant there was more responsibility for me running the football. So as it turns out, I came to realize pretty quickly that you made more money at tailback than you did at fullback. So when the St. Louis Rams wanted me to move me to fullback, I knew better.
So, and once you went over to Pittsburgh, did it seem more like at home for you on the East Coast?
Yeah, but I think it was more the system, the offense, the team. This was a football team that was used to big running backs, going back all the way to the days of Franco Harris. So they were comfortable with me, my size. So for me to step in and be productive, it was just a bonus. And actually, it turned out to be a sweet trade for them, but my career took off as well.
Oh, no doubt about it. Switching gears, going back to the Super Bowl a little bit, you won the Super Bowl 2006 in your home city of Detroit. And I just want you to touch on, what was that like for you that year? You were thinking about retiring. You were convinced to come back. You convinced yourself to come back one more year. And then you finally go out on top and are able to retire as a Super Bowl champ.
It was one of those years that it wasn't a magical year because the year was pretty frustrating. The year before we went 15-1 during the regular season. We were the number one seed, 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 the number one seed.
You talk about going on the road and being successful on the road. Why is it today that teams seem to be more successful or more apt to going further in the playoffs as 5 and 6 seeds, a la the New York Giants a couple of years ago, now the Green Bay Packers, and teams are having more success on the road in the playoffs?
Well, I think now because you have more parity in the NFL. In years past, the 5th and 6th seed really wasn't that competitive in the sense of not being able to compete with the number 1, number 2 seed. Well, now that's changed. So now you have 6 teams in the playoffs, all capable of winning a championship. So it makes everyone's job a lot harder. So those 6 seeds, you can't take them lightly, or else you'll be watching them have a chance to win a championship. And it always takes a hot quarterback. When you got a hot quarterback, anything can happen.
You got 2 hot quarterbacks right now in Big Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers. What do you see in both of these quarterbacks that enables them to be elite top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now?
Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he has a big arm. He has a great offense, great group of wide receivers, but he has the ability to throw the football down the field. He's really accurate. He's got great movement in the pocket, but he also can run really well outside the pocket. So, I mean, he's grown to a great quarterback. And I think Ben Roethlisberger, he just has that it that you want to have your quarterback, that you want your quarterback to have. He knows how to win. He's a winner, and he never quits. I mean, the game is never over until it's zeros on the board, and that's what I think one of his biggest strengths.
Jerome, absolutely. Talking about a little bit more about your Super Bowl run, was your Super Bowl ritual the week of, even the day of, was that ritual a little bit different than it had been in other games?
No, I had the same ritual. I did everything the same, although the times were different because obviously it was the Super Bowl, and there were some differences in time. But for the same part, I went out, warmed up the same kind of way, warmed up with the same guys, did the same exercises. I try to keep everything as similar as possible.
Switching gears a bit, talking about yourself as a first-round draft pick, 10th overall, I want you to touch on the rookie pay scale. What's your take on that? Does that need to be changed?
I think it needs to be adjusted because what's happening is putting too much pressure on the football teams, that has to pick a high draft pick, because if that quarterback or running back or defensive tackle doesn't succeed, he's put the franchise in a bad position because they've had to invest so much money in these top 5, top 10 picks. And so the problem comes in when a player comes out of college and is automatically making what the top 5 players in the NFL are making. There's a problem because how can you pay a rookie quarterback what Brady is making or what Ben Roethlisberger is making, and he hasn't thrown a pass yet? I think there's a disparity there that needs to change. And I think they want to make the adjustments, but I just think it needs to happen.
Now, I want to talk about something funny that happened in your career. The Lions game controversy, the heads tails controversy that I'm sure people are pretty familiar with. Heads, is it heads or is it tails? What was that like for you, and do you still laugh about that to this day?
Yeah, it was frustrating because, it was my first time playing back at home in Detroit, and there was a controversy. The umpire thought I said heads, I said tails, and it got flipped around, and it became a problem. We ultimately lost that football game. So it was frustrating, but it is one of those moments that you never forget. And unfortunately, they run it all the time. And since that, they've come out with the Bettis rule, which means you have to declare before the quarter or before the coin is tossed in the air. So I'm just glad they made it. They made the change.
Well, speaking of changes and a couple rule changes, what's your thought on the new overtime rules? And even though we hadn't seen it come into effect yet.
I don't like the overtime rules. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think this game of ours was built on the idea that the best team is going to win. And if you get the ball, if you can't stop your opponent, then you don't deserve to win. It's a situation where everybody knows what the dynamics are, and if the first team that scores wins. I mean, that's pretty simple. Now it's creating a problem because if if the first team goes out and scores a field goal, and the second team goes out and scores a touchdown, then the second team, I believe, wins or whatever. And that shouldn't be the case.
No, I hear you on that. The one thing that I think it helps or protects teams is from either a run back to the opposing 20, or even a flag pass interference play and then a field goal with some anticlimactic end. But those are definitely great points that you bring up there.
Yeah, you know what? But I say this. I mean, the run back, kickoff, return back to the 20. That's your fault. Your special teams is part of the game. Right. And if they give up a big play, it's just like a cornerback giving up a big play to a wide receiver. You've got 11 guys on the field. You got to make sure that doesn't happen. And I think that's an integral part of the game that you can't take away. And I think what they're doing is they're taking it away and actually making a disadvantage for the team who wins the coin toss because they have to go first.
Right. Obviously, this is pretty self-explanatory. Speaks for itself. The boss. But who was the first to give you that nickname?
Well, it developed when I was at college, when I was at Notre Dame. Somebody in the student body newspaper started calling me the boss, and it really stuck. So when I left Notre Dame, it disappeared. But when I came back to Western Pennsylvania, back to the Steelers, that's when it popped up, and it was pretty useful.
Jerome, do you ever reflect on that one game where you actually carried the ball 5 times for 1 yard, but still accrued 18 points for your team, scoring 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, no, it was one of those crazy stats that you see, on the box scores. But no, I really don't think about it. It was a game we won. When people bring it up, I remember, but it's not one of the games that is pretty high on my memory list.
Well, speaking of your accolades, you're 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year award, a Walter Payton Man of the Year award, as well as a Super Bowl champ, and now a Hall of Fame finalist. When you reflect on your career, out of all the accolades that we just mentioned, which stick out the most to you? Which are the most meaningful to you?
Well, the one that sticks out the most is the Man of the Year award because it goes to the person who's committed not only on the field but off the field in terms of the philanthropy that you're involved with, being able to help others, and just being a significant force in your community. So I think of all the awards, that's the one that I covet and cherish the most because it's not just your skills on the football field, it's what you give back to your community.
And that's class act right there. And we like to focus on class act things on and off the field as well. I don't know if you wanted to touch on your on the Bus Foundation, things that you have going on off the field.
Yeah, I've got our foundation. It's called the One Stop Cheer Foundation, and what we do pretty much is, we help underprivileged and at-risk kids, and we do a pretty good job in terms of the programs that we have. We have a cyber bus program that pretty much integrates kids into the computer literacy aspect of computers, teaches them how to build a computer, use it, and then integrate it into their home by us giving them a computer at the end of the program. So we've got some really good programs that we're involved in, and we're really happy about it.
Absolutely, Jerome. I'm sure you were brought up the right way. But when you made it to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a coach that's a legendary coach, in my opinion, Bill Cowher. What did you learn most from a coach like Bill Cowher?
Well, I learned, how you win as a team. I mean, it's about the atmosphere and the environment that you create as a coach for the players to flourish. And I think that's one thing that he created. A lot of people thought that he was this tyrant guy spitting all over the place, just mean all the time. But when we were together at practice, he created a great environment, and he wasn't a mean guy by any stretch of the imagination. And you just wanted to play for him because he was a great person, great coach, and he was a great leader of men. So it was, that's one thing I'll never forget. Having watched him, understanding that the environment creates a lot in terms of team sports.
Well, do you see Coach Cowher going to be back in the league within the next year? Or do you think it's still going to take a little bit of time?
Well, I just think it depends on what team. I think he wants to go to the right team. So it's a situation where I think he wants to coach, but until he finds the right team, he's going to enjoy the television work that he's doing.
How about yourself? I'm sure you're a family guy. You spend a lot of time with the family. But if you were given an opportunity to be a coach in the league, one way or the other, would you take it, given the right opportunity?
I don't think I want to be a coach. I would consider some management or some general manager type opportunity. That's an area where I think I would enjoy it. I would flourish. Just to be able to evaluate players and build a team with the right personnel. I think that's something I would want to do.
Right. And you're a finalist in the Hall of Fame 2011, a big time candidate. I know Victor Green's working with Class Act Sports, a big part of Class Act. I know you're in touch with Vic here and there. We look forward to sitting down with you when you do actually get inducted into the Hall. But what does that mean to you to be on the brink of going into the Hall of Fame?
You know what? It's a special feeling just to be a finalist, to be considered, in this class, to be one of the 15 guys that have the chance to go into the Hall of Fame. It's humbling. It's one of those deals where if you don't get in, it doesn't mean that you weren't good enough, or it doesn't mean that they didn't know what they were doing. It just means that there were some other guys that were just as good that got the consideration. So you just have to look forward to
No doubt about it. No doubt. Your big body of work. Wrapping things up a little bit, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, I know who you're pulling for. Is this going to have to come down to Big Ben or Aaron Rodgers? Because I don't see that both running games being able to run on those types of defenses. Is it going to be who makes the least amount of mistakes? Is the defense going to win it? Or is it going to have to ultimately come down to the quarterbacks making plays?
It always comes down to the quarterbacks in this game. Super Bowl is a matchup of the two best teams in their respective conferences. So that means you're going to have the best team on the field. Usually the really, really good teams can stop one part of your offensive game plan. So usually that's the running game. So it forces the quarterbacks to have to then go out there and win the football game. And the quarterback that has the ability to win the game and not make those mistakes, make the big plays, score touchdowns, not field goals, that's going to be the quarterback that leads his team to victory. So, yes, it takes the quarterback position in the Super Bowl.
Jerome, we appreciate it, JB. We appreciate your insights. Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl predictions, future Hall of Famer. Thank you very much. From Class Act Sports, I'm Jared Ginsburg. That's Jerome Bettis.
Everybody out there, hey, thanks for watching me on Class Act Sports. This is Jerome Bettis saying, see you later.
All right, boss. Thanks a lot, bro. We appreciate it. And Vic and I are definitely going to hold you to that Hall of Fame sit down once you get inducted.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, JB. See you, bud.
Bye.